Hey guys, Rich Gannon here. Wanted to take a few minutes with Jose. And as we're getting ready and into 2023, there's a lot of conversation about where the market's going, what 2023 is going to look like, but also kind of where's Elevate going? Where's Elevate heading in the direction? And what better to have a conversation with about that than you? So first, thank you for the time. I guess my first question for you is, as we get into 2023, where do you see Elevate going? Where do you see Keller Williams going in this new year?
Yeah. So I find this to be a very exciting time in the market. I know there can be some uncertainty around the market and maybe even some concern around it, but I think in this type of market, I think that this is where our agents and our company really shine. I think over the last 2 or 3 years, we've seen that, any company, any brokerage can really sell houses out there. And I think what's going to happen is our agents are going to really shine in today's market because they're the best trained, the best educated, the hardest working. And so this type of market really excites me. And this next year is going to be very fun.
It's funny that you mentioned that because, I've been back with the company now since, I think it was April or May of 2022. So it's been 6-8 months or so. And that was one of the things that really attracted me to come back because obviously as agents, we have options, right? We could go to any brokerage and most of them will happily have us. And yet there's something distinctly different about not even Keller Williams, but about Elevate itself that you don't see in the market. And I think a lot of that is, we are trained really, really well. I think we have really good leadership, right? And I think as this shift really goes into 2023, I think to your point, I think we're in a really great position to not only learn more and execute better, but to come out on top.
Yeah, take some market share, right?
Absolutely. Well, it's all about market share. Right?
Yeah.
And you've kind of taught us that as markets shift, if you can control the listings, you can control the market.
Yeah.
And if you can control the market, you're gonna be able to really predict your income in 2023, especially as we go into this, this shift that we've been in for a while, but that as all indicators are pointing is really going to affect these next 12 months that we're in. So talk to me a little bit about where you're seeing home sales annually as we move into the year.
Yeah, as the slide shows, it's been a crazy year. Like it's been a really, really crazy year. And even if you look back the last 3 years, it's been really nuts. And so what this slide is, we went from last year, we closed about 6.1 million units, houses in the country last year. And so this year we're looking at, it's going to be, we finished 2022 probably right around 4.9 million. So what has happened is we went from 6.1 to 4.9. It was a pretty dramatic drop, right? And I think if you've been in the market for the last 12 months, you've kind of felt it. And it's really been exacerbated because the first 6 months we were really having a great market, close to being on pace to 6.1, and the last 6 markets just completely fell off. And I'm sure you felt that. Everyone felt that, right?
Absolutely.
Yeah, and I think that what we're experiencing is we're just going back to a normal market, right? And we're just going back to a normal market where you don't have 30 offers in 30 hours, and it may take 30 days to sell a house, right? And so it's probably setting the expectations of buyers and sellers moving forward.
Well, and in that, right, it's shifting more from I have a pulse in a real estate listings market to a skill-based market, right? So all of the things of going back to the basics when that stability of the market of 3 to 6 months of inventory that a lot of us haven't seen, right? It's going back to that and going back to the basics that I think is really going to allow the market to stabilize. Also, there's now talks with interest rates. Are they going to get to 8%? What's the Fed going to do? In the first couple of quarters of the year. Talk to us about the interest rates. What are the indicators that we're seeing there?
Yeah, so interest rates really were the story of 2022. Like that's what told our story, and this shows that we've never seen anything like this. Like it was just this dramatic rise in interest rates. This is the week by week breakdown of interest rates throughout 2022, and it tells the whole story. And thankfully, lately at least, as the time of this recording, we've had some relief with it coming back down, but like that's really what buyers have been feeling over the last few months. So this slide here, I love this because it really tells the story of 2022. Like never in the last 50 years have we ever experienced interest rates doubling in 1 year. Like never. It's not like, oh, it hasn't happened in the last 10 years. It hasn't happened for the last 50 plus years in the real estate market. So like what we're feeling is real, what buyers are feeling is real. And this one really paints the picture for me of what buyers are feeling or have been feeling over the last 6 months. It says home shoppers are looking at a monthly mortgage payment that is roughly $1,000 higher than it was at the same time last year. So a couple higher prices, a couple higher interest rates, buy the same house, and that's $1,000 higher this time this year. Like that's an insane number to think about. When you think about like salaries didn't go up $1,000 a month, right? And so it's just a lot for buyers to digest. I think as we go into the spring market, they're going to get kind of used to this new normal rates. And we're going to talk about rates here in a second about where they're going to go. But I think as we kind of go into the spring market, I think they're going to get a little bit used to what's the new norm, right?
Well, buyers are saying, I'm going to wait until rates come down. Right. And sellers are like, well, I want to wait until I can sell my house for most of my money. Right. And we know like there's no way to ever predict that. If you would have tried, you never would have seen 2008 happen. Right.
Yeah.
And if you really would have tried, you never would have seen what happened in the spring of 2020 with COVID. Right. So there's no way to actually time it. And yet what's interesting is, to your point on that last slide is as we're looking at this, there's still people that are going to get relocated. There's still people that are going to outgrow the home that they're currently in. There's still people that are going to downsize. Unfortunately, people are going to pass away and get divorced. So the market, there's still going to be plenty of opportunity, right, for us to take our unfair share of the market. So almost ignoring those trends and putting our nose in the sand a little bit and going, I'm just going to go to work and I'm going to do my job every single day and sharpen my axe every morning, through my role plays and different things. Then go out and prospect and actively go get the business that we deserve.
Right, 100%. And I think it also comes down to like the local part of things. Like those are national numbers, and things are different on the coast than it is in little northeastern Ohio. And I think this next stat, this next graph really kind of shows us is these are the amount of active number of listings, at least at the time of this reporting, that are in Cuyahoga County, Lake, Geauga, and Medina County is what I pulled. And look at these numbers. Like in November, we were at 1,656 active listings. Like look back at 2017, we were double that. So like we still have a way to go to build up our inventory to a healthy number.
Well, even if you look at that slide, right, like the number of listings from 2022, even into 2020, it's not that different.
It's not that different. It's not. And like, so yes, we're coming into a different market and there's still a massive amount of shortage of houses for sale in Northeast Ohio.
Absolutely. Well, that has to do with new construction not being able to produce their volume as they had because of all the shortages on that end, but it's also because so many people have interest rates below 3% that aren't ever probably going to move unless one of those like circumstances that we talked about.
100%. That's as much as buyers have uncertainty, we're seeing sellers have uncertainty, and they're saying, "I'm not going to put a house on the market." Here's the interesting thing: is like I talked to a lot of people, and they're like, is it going to be another 2008? And here's why this is not going to be another 2008. If you look at the price right now, compared to what it was 5 years ago, we're at $210 versus $159. Like sellers are sitting on a lot of equity. And will they move? It might just be one of those life circumstances that are going to make them move. And people will still be moving, right? People always have to move for whatever reason, they will be moving. And they're sitting on a lot of equity right now.
So where do we go from here?
Yeah.
Where does your real estate agent of 2023 go with the information that we just shared?
So predictions, I mean, You and I have the same information. Everyone here has the same information. So I'm just going to quote experts on what they think. And I think the biggest thing that we're up against is still this massive shortage of inventory, right? We're still way below pre-pandemic numbers as far as amount of houses for sale. So I think we have a way to go to build out of this. I also think we're not going to see a bunch of foreclosures. Like if you look at this, you can see 2009, there was 2 million foreclosures. And this year, there's been like less than 100,000.
Well, I think a lot of that is, maybe people are running out of money in a sense, right? But they still have so much equity in their house. And I think that's why we're not going to see those foreclosures, because equity is not dropping, right? They have the equity. So if they can't afford to stay where they're at, they can still sell and not lose like in years past.
Yeah. Well, and think about it, like over the last 2 years, who have been the people that have been winning the houses? 20% down, cash, like healthy down payments. They have equity in their house, right? So that's why you're not seeing those foreclosures. I think also like mortgage, where are they going to be at? This is a bunch of people that are way smarter than me predicting where the rates are going to be at. So if you're talking to buyers and they're like, oh, I'm waiting for 4% to come back around, like we need to educate our buyers to this, that, I think if you average them all out, first quarter, we're looking at maybe 6.5. Like, I think that's probably a safe number. And I think best case scenario throughout the year, we may see 6, but like, we're not going to get back down to 4. We need to educate. I think the best thing that we can hope for as real estate professionals is that it doesn't have the volatility that it had in 2022. Like volatility was the main issue in 2022. I think once we settle in, I see buyers being a little bit more comfortable with moving forward.
When the chairman of the Federal Reserve last week said, last week now, but in December said that they're not going to start decreasing and making rate cuts until they know the inflation has really stopped.
Yeah.
Right. So they're probably not going to see that until the end of the second, somewhere in the third quarter, which on that last slide, which is where we kind of saw rates slowly starting to come back down to that 6% mark.
Yeah.
So it's definitely going to be like market experts. Like these are the conversations that we need to have with our clients.
Yeah.
When like talking about when is really the best time to buy, it really is right now.
Right. Yeah, and I think the last thing is like, what are house prices going to do? Right. Like if I sell my house next year, am I going to lose a ton of money in it? Yeah, none of us know at this point. And there are 6 different leading organizations talking about 6 different examples or predictions of what they think is going to happen. What you want, but what I get from this slide is that best case we're going to get 1-2% appreciation, and worst case we're going to see 5%. We're not seeing 10-15% price depreciation next year. I don't see anything that is going to happen that's going to happen. None of us know, and I think if we're consulting people, I think we're like probably going to stay where it's at, or maybe slide back a smidge, but it's not going to be this dramatic decline. So if someone's sitting there waiting and saying, "Oh, I'm waiting for prices to come down 10%," until inventory catches up, you're going to be waiting a while.
Well, and this slide here, there's a very big difference between home prices depreciating and appreciation decelerating, right? So, and I think I think the media is saying one thing, and yet the data says something completely different.
Yeah.
Homes aren't depreciating. They're just not, they're not appreciating as quickly as they have been for the last almost 36 months.
Yeah.
And I think this slide is what is showing that. It's not showing that the market's crashing. It's not showing that values are coming down, right? It's simply saying we're not going to see the 10 to 15% a month appreciation.
Which is great. We don't want to see that.
Absolutely. It's not healthy. It's not sustainable.
Right.
If you look historically, home values have appreciated every year.
Yeah.
Right. And it takes through the peaks and the valleys, even going back to 2008, it dropped because it was an economic collapse, right? But then in 2009, it started to appreciate a little bit. And then in 2010, it appreciated, and then it kept appreciating. And I think that's what's so important to really understand as we're explaining this to our clients, right? Is values aren't coming down; they're just not rising as quickly as we've been used to.
I think again, the exciting thing for me is moving forward in 2023. We are with a company, we have the agents that are gonna like capitalize on that opportunity, right? There's gonna be so much opportunity in 2023 for the agents to get up, do the work, execute on what they're supposed to be doing. It's a tremendous opportunity out of it.
I mean, if you want a place, everybody wants to work with a company that's stable. This is the company, this is the company.
Exciting. Thanks, guys.